So you've got nationalists who are proud Irishmen, as the people that you were standing with on Saturday were in court, and unionists and loyalists standing shoulder to shoulder because they realise there's a far bigger game to be played here, and there's a far bigger fight to be fought. And that has been an amazing thing. I believe you me, the powers that be don't like it. The sinister groups that want to foster sectarian hatred and bitterness don't like it. But that's what's really happening on the ground in Northern Ireland. You've got groups of Protestant and Catholics coming together and saying, we can't have our country and our culture, even though our cultures are quite diverse, we can't have our country and our culture destroyed by mass, unchecked, illegal migration.
Well, as you know, I was in Cork, Ireland on Saturday for a huge rally against mass immigration and fake refugees. Well, that's in Ireland proper, the Republic of Ireland. But Northern Ireland, which is on the same Emerald Isle, it's part of the United Kingdom, though, then that same night, a shocking thing happened. Allegedly, there was rape by migrants of young age kids. They weren't even women, they were girls. And the news spread like wildfire, and hundreds of locals in a town called Balamina marched towards the downtown apartment where the migrants were and ransacked the place. That's what I could glean from social media. But I'm fortunate enough to have a friend in Balamina right now. His name is Richard Inman. I've got to know him through my friendship with Tommy Robinson, and he is a reporter for Urban Scoop. He is standing right in the heart of Balamina, and he joins us now. Richard, thanks so much for taking the time to be there for us on the ground.
Well, thank you, Ezra, for showing an interest in this, because to put this in context, Ezra, Balamina is a small market town. I don't know if you thought something the size of Wainwright or Jasper in Canada. That's the sort of size of it. It's a very, very small town, and for this level of disturbance to happen in a town like this is very, very rare. But I just want to correct something that the people are saying on social media. What actually happened was it was a very dignified and peaceful protest about 7:30 last night in the centre of Balamina. There was about 2,500 people there. That's from a population of at least 20,000-30,000. So it's a massive turnout at the event. And basically, it was a very strange sense of somberness and mourning for what had happened, or what allegedly has happened to this young child. And that event went off completely peaceful. As I was leaving the event with my cameraman last night, because I filmed all the goings on at the demonstration, which was magnificent and peaceful and respectful. After that, the police blocked roads, actually stopped us being able to get out of Balamina. We ended up kind of trapped in the town. So we parked up on the side of the road on the sidewalk and got out of the car and walked to where I'm standing now. And when myself and my friend got here with the camera equipment, there was a group of probably 20 to 30 masked young men deliberately targeting 2 or 3 houses in this street. And again, this is just what I could gather from the crowd. The houses were allegedly occupied by some of the suspects. Okay, so this wasn't like randomly just attacking migrants' houses, from what I can gather. And again, I'm only going on what I was told by the people on the ground. But we ended up, and I'll send you the footage actually, Ezra, we ended up sandwiched between the police and the lads that were completely beside themselves with rage over what had happened to one of the children of this town. And we were kind of in the middle of it. So we could really see exactly what was going on. The interesting thing was the police didn't actually intervene. The police were standing about 50 yards away from the disturbances, and they did nothing until some heavy-handed riot cops came in from a city a few, about 20 miles away. So there was a long time in this town last night where it was ungoverned space. And I think what I got from that was that this is what happens when government completely collapses in terms of immigration, in terms of who they're allowing into the country. And you have a situation where people are feeling threatened, people are feeling frightened. And again, I'm not condoning lawlessness. I'm not condoning anybody doing any criminality. But when people are angry and people are feeling ignored and people are feeling like they're being marginalized, things explode. And that's really what happened on the streets of Balamina last night.
That's incredible. Now, let me just pause for a second and make sure I have my facts straight. I read that there was one girl on Saturday night. Then I read there were two. And then I read there was actually a third case of rape several weeks ago. Can you clarify for me how many women were raped, and were they children? Were they teenagers? Help me out. I just want to be as accurate as possible.
So, and again, Ezra, obviously with your legal mind and me being in the UK, I've got to be extremely careful about what I say, because what we don't want to do is collapse any of the cases that are ongoing. And there have been, as far as I know, two people charged. So we can't speak specifically about the details of the specific cases. But the allegation is that in the last fortnight, there have been 2 serious sexual assaults on children. Now, that's the allegation. Again, we've got to say it's an allegation because of the British legal system, because as we know from Tommy, you can get yourself into all sorts of hot water. But what we don't want to do is collapse any case that may be upcoming. So what we're saying is these are allegations. We've got to be very clear on that. But yes, 2 allegations of very, very serious sexual assault, allegedly by Roma gypsies in Balamina in the past fortnight. And Ezra, I have never seen rage. Well, I have, but I haven't seen rage like that for a long time. I've lived in Northern Ireland since the 1980s. I came here with the military. And the rage I saw last night was like something we would have seen in the 1980s. It's as simple as that. I haven't seen that for a very, very long time. And I think a lot of people are talking about civil unrest and civil disturbances. What people don't realise about Northern Ireland and the Northern Irish people, it's not about race. In fact, the actual one of the alleged victims, and again we're saying alleged not because for any other reason than legal reasons. One of the alleged victims, her father is a black man who actually stood with amazing dignity at that protest last night and spoke at the protest literally hours after this alleged incident took place. Okay, so this is not a racially motivated attack on innocent people. That's not what's been going on here. This has been an explosion of rage. And it would have been exactly the same if it had been a gang of white guys had been allegedly doing what they were doing. The rage would be exactly the same, because that's what Northern Ireland people like. They stand up for their women. They take a stand for their women, but whether they're children or whether it's their wives, they will always stand up for their women. And I think, that's what people have got to take from this. Not the fact that there was any racial element, because I don't believe there was. I believe it was purely rage at what happened to those 2 girls yesterday.
Wow, that's very interesting that you say that, and thank you for that on-the-ground reporting, that it was a black father whose daughter was allegedly raped, and I'll say allegedly, obviously, because a senior police officer today had a briefing and painted the protest as racist. I don't know if you saw that, Richard. It was the most outrageous defamation of grieving mums and dads and neighbors and brothers and cousins. I saw a lot of snippets on social media, and you're right, the tone was rage, hurt, a feeling of being violated, a feeling of being abandoned by the government. This is what I sensed through the video. And if you're saying that a father himself, who happens to be black, was grieving there, and then today this cop smeared those protesters as racist, that is like throwing kerosene on the fire. That's outrageous. Are you aware of that statement by the senior policeman?
Yes.
Last night saw significant sustained disorder in Balamina. This violence was clearly racially motivated and targeted at our minority ethnic community and the police. It was racist thuggery, pure and simply, and any attempt to justify or explain it as something else is misplaced.
I was aware of that, Ezra, and I totally agree with it. It's absolutely outrageous. And Ezra, you know as well as I do, we have dealt with this. We have dealt with these slurs. You've dealt with it. I've dealt with it. Tommy's dealt with it for the past 10 to 15 years. Every time we highlight a problem, whether it's with radical Islam, whether it's with grooming gangs, whether it's with criminality or people smuggling or money laundering, whatever it is, every time we raise these problems and say, well, actually, there might be a common denominator here. Straight away, we're smeared as racist and xenophobic. And do you know what? I think we're all bored with it now. They can call us what we want. We know what we are. We know what we believe. We're very open, genuine people in Northern Ireland. And those smears are not what some people do.
Wow. You know, one of the things that I can see the United Kingdom moving towards more candor about grooming gangs, rape gangs, and this problem, partly because of our friend Tommy Robinson blowing the lid off it, and that has caused other parts of society to move. Even Parliament's talking about it. There's a inquiry into grooming gangs by an MP, Rupert Lowe. So people are talking about it more and more. And the nation, and this is just my view as an outsider, Richard, it looks like Brits are slowly moving away from their fear of speaking plainly. If you look at the Rotherham report into the mass rapes there, again and again, social workers, nurses, police were all saying we didn't want to be called racist, so we didn't blow the whistle on it. So for this cop to reach back in for that weapon and say, you're just racist, I feel he is out of sync with the times. I don't think he'll be able to shut people up anymore. I don't think it's working as much anymore. At least I hope not. What's it like there right now? I see a couple of people behind you. What's it like on the streets? Perhaps your cameraman can sort of pan around a little bit. Is there anything going on there now?
There's a few people stand up. Very, very few. There's not a lot of people. There's a police presence. We think there's an undercover police vehicle, but we could be wrong about that. But yeah, there's a police presence around us. Police presence. But there's nobody causing any trouble. It's very relaxed. And the thing is, I mean, last night, Ezra, this was. I'll send you the footage once we get off this. This was pretty much a war zone. It was extremely kinetic. Let's just put it that way.
Yeah. I want to ask you one last thing, and I really appreciate you taking the time to talk to us in North America. We're very interested in what happens in Ireland and the UK because I think you're further down the road than we are, so I want to learn from you. But I want to clarify something you said a little bit earlier, if you could clarify it for me. I think you said that the local police sort of stood back for a bit while these local lads, maybe 20 of them, you said there were thousands who marched peacefully, soberly, solemnly. But you said that there was about 20 youths, I think you said they were covering their faces, that were getting kinetic. And I think you said that the local cops stood back. Can you explain for me, did they stand back to let the vigilante justice go? Did they stand back because they were afraid of a physical altercation? What is your theory about why the police stood back until the other riot police came?
I think. I mean, when I say there's 20 or 30 lads involved in kinetic activity, there was a crowd of probably, I'm guessing, 300-400 on the street, and there was 10 police officers. So they really couldn't do anything but stand by. If they'd have got involved physically, there would have been. I think it was a proper policing decision to not intervene, because I think they would have caused themselves massive problems. When the riot squad came in, they did what they did. To be honest with you, they weren't actually that aggressive for a riot squad. I've seen cops in London be a lot more aggressive than these guys were in Balamina last night. So it wasn't a very violent response from the police, but they did clear the streets. They did do what they could to bring back order. And again, once they'd done that, we left the area. But I think there is something I want to say, Ezra, before you go, because I think it's really important in relation to what you were doing last week in Cork and what's been happening in Northern Ireland. Again, nobody will know this outside of Northern Ireland, because again, it doesn't fit the narrative. But what we've had actually since Tommy was in prison in 2018, we've had unionists and Republicans standing together. It doesn't happen all the time. It's happened probably half a dozen times since 2018, since Tommy was in prison. The first time we did it was at Free Tommy Hammer in Belfast. And we had people with Irish tricklers, red hand of Ulster, which is the Ulster flag, and the Union Jacks standing together. So you've got nationalists who are proud Irishmen, as the people that you were standing with on Saturday were in Cork, and unionists and loyalists standing shoulder to shoulder because they realise it's a far bigger game to be played here, and there's a far bigger fight to be fought. And that has been an amazing thing. Now, believe you me, the powers that be don't like it. The sinister groups that want to foster sectarian hatred and bitterness don't like it. But that's what's really happening on the ground in Northern Ireland. You've got groups of Protestant and Catholics coming together and saying, we can't have our country and our culture, even though our cultures are quite diverse, we can't have our country and our culture destroyed by mass, unchecked, illegal migration. And the problem that we got with a lot of these people, the migrants that come here to be doctors and lawyers, very small number, there's never any problem out of those people. The problem that we've got is illegal migration, and people come to this country, we don't know who they are, we don't know what their past is, and of course, they naturally gravitate to criminality because they can't work in the proper economy. So that's what the problem is that we're facing. It's certainly in Northern Ireland, I think very much in the Republic of Ireland as well. And again, just the numbers are staggering. And the whole nation is, I believe, like a tinderbox. When I talk about the nation, I'm talking about Ireland and the UK. It's like a tinderbox at the moment. And hopefully, with what we're doing with Unite the Kingdom and the other stuff like this, where we're talking about it and we're talking about it openly that people can get on YouTube, we'll do something to damp down any rage and damp down any anger. But, you know, my fear is it only takes one more Ariana Grande or one more Southport massacre, and we're in for a world of pain. And that's my biggest fear, is it?
Wow. I do want to ask you one last question, because I think of politics, and I'm frustrated that the people are ready for change, but the politicians are not. I feel that way in Ireland very acutely. But let me draw your attention to the by-election in the Northern English riding of Runcorn, where the Labour Party had won that district with 53% just a year ago. And Reform took it. It was quite narrow, but Reform took it. And I was there and I saw their campaign. Their slogan, Richard, was freeze immigration, stop the boats. Like, it couldn't have been more blunt. And that was enough to completely flip Runcorn, which was this they said it was the 16th safest Labour riding in the whole country. It flipped on this issue. What's the politics like in Northern Ireland? I don't know that part of the country. Are there any politicians? Go ahead, sorry.
Yeah, no, absolutely. Sorry, I cut across there. Yeah, there are politicians that are taking a stand on this. The TUV, which has its real heartland, funny enough, in Balamina, the local MP, I've spoken to Jim Allister about these issues. He gets it. He understands and he knows what needs to be done. The problem we've got in Northern Ireland, we're a very small voice in a big chamber. So Jim's the only TUV MP in Parliament, and it's a Parliament, 600 or so MPs. But Jim is doing what he can. My local MP, Alex Easton, sings from the same hymn sheet as Jim Allister. So we do have a small number of MPs that get it. And obviously the Reform guys, some of them get it, some of them don't. And that's all I'm going to say about Reform. But there really is a massive opening there for an insurgent party. But I think, again, with the politics, Ezra, I think what has to happen with the politics, and this is really important, and it's really important people, I guess, in North America understand this as well. The politics in the United Kingdom has to welcome in Tommy Robinson and the United Kingdom movement and the people that are associated with that, which includes you, obviously, Ezra. Because if we're excluded, which Reform has excluded us, they've said, they called us that lot, they won't allow Tommy to join the party and so on and so forth. So I think there has to be a sea change there. Because I believe if we all came together on the right, Ben Habib, Rupert Lowe, Nigel, some of the right-wing Tories, UKIP, Nick Tenconi's doing a great job at UKIP, Tommy Robinson, all of us lot, we would absolutely romp the next election. And I think Nigel doesn't get that yet. And what my prayer and hope is that Nigel will get that, and that he'll bring this together and he'll be a great leader instead of someone that could have been a great leader. I hope that makes sense.
Well, what I saw from social media clips of the mothers walking last night is mothers who don't care about any other issue in the world other than the safety of their girls. Nothing else is as important, not even traditional fault lines of Catholic or Protestant. When a child is raped, everything changes, and that's just so shocking. Richard, thank you for answering my call today to give us an on-the-ground report. I will gratefully take your footage and will credit you for it. Thank you. I want to show people what's going on, and hopefully this will lead to more justice and more political attention rather than people just name calling like that senior police officer. Thanks for your time, Richard.
Thanks, Ezra. Thanks very much. Thank you.
All right, there he is, Richard Inman. Friend of mine I've gotten to know through Tommy Robinson and a reporter for Urban Scoop. Stay with us. Your letters to me next. Oh, hi, it's Ezra Levant here in Toronto with an important message because we need your help. Independent journalism in Canada is under attack. Government censors, big tech deplatformers, and the dying legacy media are all working together to maintain exclusive control on the information you receive. They don't want you to hear other voices like ours, and they really don't want you to be informed and to think for yourself. That's why the work we do here at Rebel News is so important. Our on-the-ground reporting, independent news shows, and special content you won't find anywhere else. It's all designed to give you trustworthy information and alternative viewpoints so you can decide for yourself. We don't get government money, and we are not owned by some big global conglomerate. We're funded by people just like you, so please support independent journalism and help us continue our work by subscribing and becoming a Rebel News Plus member today, right here on the page. Go to rebelnewsplus.com. Members get instant access to all of our shows, invitations to exclusive events, and access to our premium content like live event footage and documentaries you won't see anywhere else. Only Rebel News Plus members can join the conversation by participating in the comments section of our new website. That way you can have your say too. More than anything, though, you'll be able to take pride in supporting real, honest journalism, and you'll help our talented team continue to do the work to push back on the establishment. We really can use your help. We need it, in fact. So thank you, and enjoy Rebel News Plus.